I remember when I went to graduate school, and my professor, her name was Dr. Patton, and she worked with old people. And I remember all I was interested at the time was just research for bodybuilding. I walked in there and I had one mindset, and that's like, hey, what can you do to make people enormous as possible and as shredded as possible? So you can imagine she's doing research and older people. And I said, so she's like, she wanted me to come help her do research. You don't really have a choice when you're in grad school. You kind of do what you're told. But she wanted me to do research on elderly people. And I said, so you want me to help you with this research project with old people? And she basically physically slapped my hand. And she said, Jacob, they're elderly. Okay? So from then on, I've referred to older people as elderly. Okay? So, and I can remember that hand slap like the back, like it was yesterday. And I remember we ended up going and doing research all day. And I was like, I wasn't interested in it at all at the time. And the more I've gotten older, besides that, with my parents and grandparents, and you start to become more interested in like, hey, bodybuilding is not just bodybuilding can be something across the lifespan, right? So I'm going to flip that question. What I'm going to say is that I think it is dangerous for elderly people not to lift weights. That's my honest opinion. What is one of the number one ways that elderly people die? They fracture their hip. When you fracture your hip, some studies show that within 15 months, there's up to an 80% death rate after fracturing a hip. Why is that? Because you're not strong. After the age of 50, we lose 1% of our muscle per year, on average after the age of 50, and that accelerates actually more like when you're in your 70s. So you are sitting there, and I am telling you, after the age of 50, you have a shovel in your hand, and you're digging one step closer to the grave every year because your strength's going down and your power's going down. You are going to fall, you're going to fracture a hip. It is dangerous not to lift weights. Beyond that, my dissertation was actually looking at changes in age-related muscle across lifespan. And what I am going to tell you right now is we looked at people all the way up into their 80s. People in their 80s can gain muscle, okay? So instead of losing 1% muscle per year, you can actually gain 1% muscle per year. And in essence, you are reversing the aging process. So if you want to get younger, say for example, if you're talking about either yourself or your grandparents or your parents, if you want your grandparents and your parents to become frail and to break, don't lift weights. If you want them to gain muscle, anti-age, be independent, not have to be on tons of medications, not have to be in a nursing home, not have to hate their life and be depressed, not have to have almost no confidence in walking, and instead of have to shuffle everywhere that they go, not be able to play with their grandchildren, instead be miserable the rest of their life, don't have your elderly lift weights.